Parents want their children to spend time in positive endeavors, like these students playing soccer outside their local high school. But all too often, youths aged 7 to 17 end up in a police cruiser on the way to the police station, charged with offenses ranging from simple disorderly conduct to murder.
Break and entering. Okay, young man, I want you to listen to me now. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford one, one will be provided you by the Commonwealth. Do you understand me? Okay, you're under arrest. We'll be going into the station now. Okay, son, you just want to slide right over here. Come on over. Okay, son, you come in here. You're going to be fingerprinted, booked, and photographed in here. Come with me. Right up to the rail here. Okay, you pay attention to the lieutenant. He's going to ask you a few questions. When he's through, we're going to take your picture, your fingerprints, and you'll be allowed to make a telephone call if you want to notify your parents. If not, we're going to have to notify your parents where you're a juvenile, and then we'll go from there. Okay, we're going to take your fingerprints and your photograph. You want to step over here, please? I want you to stand up straight and look at the camera. Stand up straight. Okay, I want you to turn your head to the right, face the wall. Okay, you can relax now. I'm going to come over and I'm going to take your fingerprints. You just step to my right. Okay, why don't you come with me now? Step right in here. You'll be here just until we get all the parents, until the clerk is notified.
After an arrested youth is committed by the juvenile court, he or she is assigned a caseworker from the Department of Youth Services.
Good afternoon. This is Carl Naguyo from DYS.
In August of 1969, with the passage of Chapter 838, the Massachusetts legislature created the Department of Youth Services, which is responsible for the care and custody of troubled youths who are committed to the DYS by the juvenile courts. In October of that same year, then Governor Francis Sargent appointed Jerome Miller, a professor of social work at the University of Ohio, to be the first DYS commissioner. Miller faced two difficult tasks: to decentralize an agency that previously had been a division of the Department of Education, and to reform 5 existing training schools, commonly known as reform schools. In an extremely unorthodox and controversial move, Miller deinstitutionalized DYS by closing these schools and organizing the department into 7 regional offices. DYS caseworkers had the new and challenging task of ensuring that committed youths were properly matched with the appropriate community-based treatment programs.
Massachusetts Department of Youth Services is unusual. It's primarily a private vendor system. Depending on the seriousness of their offenses, kids are placed in secure settings, or else they're serviced in unlocked community-based programs. Privately run service providers enter into a competitive bidding process in order to win contracts. These programs include group homes, foster care programs, tracking programs, and non-residential services.
In March of 1982, Commissioner Edward Murphy cut DYS administrative costs by reducing the number of regions from 7 to 5. Regions 3 and 4 were merged into the new Northeast region. This created a measure of tension among some staff members in the new region. Before the merger, the two previous regions had very different modes of operation. Commissioner Murphy chose Charles Boardman to head the new Northeast Regional Office, located in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Murphy also named John Farah Assistant Regional Director. Both Boardman and Farah had held the same positions in the former Region 3 office since 1971. For 5 years, the Northeast Region leadership remained unchanged until the retirement of Assistant Director Farah on November 29, 1986. Chris Dinan, a Northeast Region caseworker, describes the impact that this void on the organizational chart had on the staff.
The lack of having a assistant regional director has affected my job somewhat, where it filtered down to things maybe would get done a little bit quicker if we did have an assistant around. And I think just knowing that there's an empty office down the hall, and it's been for so long, I think just people are wondering what's going on. I think it might affect the morale.
Without an assistant regional director, the burden on other staff members, like Bill Perkins, has increased.
Normally, the Director of Casework Services, myself, would be the third person in the chain of command in the region. And as things currently exist, on the table of organization, I'm sort of second in command, and therefore we've had to work much more directly together, much more closely than might be the case if an assistant regional director were there and there were a normal chain of command.
But the loss of the assistant director was not the only change at the Northeast region. Shortly after Farah's retirement, workers were notified that Regional Director Charles Boardman had been promoted to central office as Deputy Assistant for Community Services. Current Commissioner Edward Logren selected Hildegard Paris to succeed Boardman. Paris, formerly a caseworker at the Suffolk County House of Corrections, and most recently an assistant to the Commissioner in central office, became familiar with the Northeast region during a regional review.
Had been involved. I had actually chaired a committee of people that came out to the region in October to do a regional review, which from time to time the central office does of all of the 5 regions. And in coming out and having an opportunity to talk to the various people who work in the region, I became very invested and very interested in the region and brought that back to the central office.
On January 5th, 1987, Paris officially began as Northeast Regional Director.
You know, I really felt as though my 6 years with the department and central office had been very beneficial, but that I really had never had the opportunity to roll up my sleeves and work in the field.
Bill Perkins describes the contrast between Paris and her predecessors.
The fact that she is moving forward with our central administration and trying to use some of these facts and figures and statistics to the region's benefit in a very aggressive way, I think reflects upon the fact that she is new, that she is a creation of the current central office administration, and that she's in a station in her career where she is filled with vitality and looking to move forward. And to contrast that with our previous administration, both of the gentlemen that were in the top leadership roles were people who were moving towards retirement years, had a very different kind of management style, but not only that, they also were in a position where they didn't particularly want to rock the boat. They didn't want to fight a central administration on a specific issue.
Walter Hutchin, Director of Program Management, has also noticed change in the regional leadership's management style.
There have been some very marked and very notable changes. There seems to be a very definite organization. There seems to be a very definite plan of action. We feel, or I personally feel, as though I am more part of the organization. I'm a more integral part What I have to offer is important, and of course always has been, but it is more notable at the present time.
Even Paris herself has noticed a change in the office morale.
People that I work with in this region I have found to be, from the day I walked in here, enormously receptive. I think some of the things that that people have really been looking for, and some of my personality have matched very well here.
But Paris is not without her problems in the region. Bruce Hurd, a caseworker, is still reserving judgment about her management style.
I just think the delegation of authority needs to be improved. I think the goals and objectives need to be more clearly defined. Even though there's some improvement there, I still think there's room for more improvement.
But most staff members seem to see Paris's shortcomings as temporary and normal for any new manager. More importantly, there seems to be almost unanimous optimism about the region's future.
At the present time, the community-based programs are working quite well. And I think in the future, they're going to work even better. And the reason for it is the reporting mechanism that we now have, the monitoring that we now have, because it gives way to accountability. This is something that we couldn't measure before. It's something that is measurable now.
John Brennan, a casework manager, agrees.
The biggest change is just an attitudinal thing. People get the impression that they can actually share their ideas and that someone is actually listening to you also.
I think, within a year, there can be, this region could really become a model region for the department. I think the energy is there and the commitment is there. And, I think with the right direction and a little bit, an additional resource, that there should not be any things to hold us back.